Whenever my ego needs a boost, I just come back and visit Bruce. Thank you so much for that glamorous introduction. It is good to be back in Wilmington. Some of you I've already told about this, but I was here in the early 80s. My wife was the pastor of the Calvary Presbyterian Church over by the GM assembly plant. And I taught at Limestone several times during the tenure of Bill Smith and Laurel Lovelace. So I have a long association with Limestone Presbyterian Church, and I simply want to congratulate you on your good taste in choosing two of my other very good friends to be the pastors of this church at the present time. Bruce and Carolyn are superior ministers, and the church should be congratulated for choosing such a remarkable couple to be their pastors. So, when I was invited to be a part of your celebration today, I readily accepted the invitation, not only so I could come back and visit Wilmington and visit Bruce and Carolyn, but because I also really think this is a very, very, very significant event. This is an important event to continue to hold. I see this is the 6th year. I hope this happens for the next 66 years. I thank you for your invitation for me to be a part of this, and I thank you all for showing up on what's turning out to be a really pretty day to be sitting inside. The topic for today's talk is, what does the Christian faith have to offer men? And I want to begin simply with a fact. And the fact is this, that women outnumber men in Christian churches. You can do the numbers, but about 60% of Christian churches are female. That means about 40% of Christian churches are male. That's a 3-2 division. Some would say, well, it's actually 61% female and 39% male, but who's counting? That gender gap seems to hold true pretty much at every age. But that means that every single Sunday, there are approximately 13 million more adult women in Christian churches in the United States than men. And 25% of the adult women who are in church are not with their husbands. Now, that's an important thing to point out, because that means that fewer men are committed to the Church of Jesus Christ than women. And that's odd, because about 90% of American men say they believe in God. And about 80% of American men would say that they call themselves Christians. But only about 33.33% attend church. And many of those who attend church go simply because of a significant female in their life. They go to please their mother or their girlfriend or their wife or their daughter. And many of the men that attend church do nothing the rest of the week to nurture their faith. They don't pray, they don't read Scripture, they don't seek fellowship. Fewer men are committed to the Church of Jesus Christ than women. Now, before I go any further, let me just be very clear about 2 points here. I do not mean to suggest that adult women outnumbering adult males in the Christian church is a new phenomenon. Nor is this a phenomenon simply in the United States of America. Historians tell us that throughout the ages, there has always been this approximately 60-40 split. And that's pretty much true around the world as well. Bruce said I was in Southern Africa last summer, and I saw it in Southern Africa. Others tell me that in Asia and in Latin America, where Christianity is booming, you have this same kind of 60 female, 40 male percentage. This also doesn't mean that I'm not in favor of women in the church. Like Bruce said, I'm married to a female Presbyterian minister. I've been a vocal advocate of women in positions of leadership and authority in the church for years, and I don't intend to stop that in the future. And I'm convinced that one of the very best things we ever did in the church was ordain women to positions of leadership and authority. But I would like to see more men involved in the life of the church. That is due in part to my realization that the Christian church is always one generation away from extinction. Each and every generation has to be won anew for Jesus Christ because God has no grandchildren, only sons and daughters. And since I work with students ages 18 to 22 primarily, I'm especially interested in attracting more young people to the Christian faith. A longtime friend of mine, the Reverend Dr. Carol Litch, published her doctoral dissertation in a book entitled Choosing Church: What Makes a Difference for Teens. Now, Carol did some interesting work over a number of months. She visited strong youth groups in a Catholic, a mainline Protestant, and an evangelical Protestant congregation. One of the things that she concluded from that kind of study is fairly obvious, and that is this: that parents are the most potent influence on the spiritual development of young people. But another finding is more startling. Young people are more influenced by the church-going practices of the least religious parent rather than the more religious parent. So contrary to popular opinion, it is not the active participation of one parent that is the most important influence on a child. It's the participation of the least active parent who's the most influential in the participation of the child. And actually, when you think about it, it makes sense. Can't you just hear teens saying, well, if Dad doesn't have to go to church, then why should I? It's the least active member of a couple that has the most dramatic impact on the participation of children in church. And since males traditionally are the least active participants, males have an even greater impact on the development of faith in children than males are aware of. And when you consider the fact that 90% of the boys who are being raised in church today will abandon the church by their 20th birthday, some never to return, then you can see how much our young people need more male models of faith.